Hi everyone, welcome back to Hickory House Homestead. My name is Sarah. Thank you for joining me today. It is pretty cold here today. It is mostly cloudy and only in the mid 40s and still pretty breezy. Last night, yesterday, we had pretty strong winds. So between the wind, it only being in the mid 40s and the sun not coming out quite yet, it's pretty chilly. But I have some more seeds to start. I have some seeds that I didn't get to start last weekend that I definitely want to start this weekend. And then I have a few more that I'd like, a few more crops and varieties that I would like to get started this weekend. Nothing too crazy. This weekend, I'd like to get these started. I'd like to get the Viola Blue Perfection, Viola Mineola Heart Aqua, a couple packets of those, the Utah Tall Celery, Ishikura Onion, Pansy Chicky Chicks, Spotted Bee Balm, Indian Blanket Flower, the Elegance Pink Lavender, Violette de Provence Artichoke, and Marshmallow started. I think these three sets of seeds are going to need to be started in either a special way, or they'll need special attention, either certain temperatures like cold stratification, or need to be started on like wet paper towel or something like that. I'm going to have to review the backs of the packet to refresh my memory, but these three we are not just going to start right away in those trays. We're going to start them later according to the directions on the packet in whatever manner they need for best success. So I'm going to set those aside. But all of these can be planted, I believe, just in those cells. So that's what we're going to work on today. Also, you could check out my current seed storage collection. It is not okay, but I went to the store and I picked up a few of these interlinking containers that I think I will like. I know a lot of people use the plastic photo storage containers. I'm not crazy about those because I don't currently close up my seed packets after I've opened them. I'm sure there's better ways to do this, or better ways to open the packets so that you can reclose them or reseal them with adhesive. I'm just not that detailed with opening my seed packets at this point in my seed starting experience. So I like to have them all standing up so they don't spill out of the envelopes. And I like to be able to flip through them. I can't really do that as easily in the plastic photo container, storage containers. But I thought that these little interlocking file cabinets will allow me to continue to be able to do that. And then I got these craft sticks that are a little more aesthetically pleasing to me than popsicle sticks that I'm going to write on with these fine tip permanent markers. They might still bleed, but you know, we'll test it out this year. Notice in my last video where I was starting some of my peppers and my tomatoes, I was like, oh, I know the order that my peppers and tomatoes are in. I don't have time to write the tags, the varieties and the crops down on tags right now. We got to run, we got to go to dinner for Will's birthday over at his dad's. I know what order they're in. I'll tag them later. I know what order I planted each row in, but I don't know from what end I started. So I actually don't know what variety is planted in which row of the tray. I know I either started at one end and I know the order of the varieties from that end, or if I started at the other end, I know that I planted the varieties in a certain order from that end, but from which end, that I don't know. So don't be like me and say that you will label your varieties at a later date. Just do it as you go. I learned my lesson. I thought I knew what I was doing. I thought I would remember, but I didn't anticipate that I'd be moving the trays all around and I wouldn't know at which end I started. In fact, let's start writing down these crops and varieties before we even get started with soily fingers and seed starting. Before I even open the packets and touch the dirt, I'm going to take some of these craft sticks and all of the packets. I'm just going to write down all of the varieties of seeds that we're going to be starting today. That way they're ready to go and waiting for us. Okay, so I got these at Home Depot. Very flimsy. I'll be surprised they last more than a year, but I'm going to test them out as a cheaper alternative I'm considering purchasing the air pruning Bootstrap Farmer. I think it's a 72 cell tray, but before I invest in something that's more heavy duty and that's going to last me more than one season or two seasons, I'm testing out whether or not I like starting seeds in such small trays. I think that I like the idea of starting seeds in something that's more along the lines of at least 2 inches in diameter across. I don't know why. It just seems like these are so small. And I don't know how soon I would need to pot. But I might actually love starting seeds in little plugs this small, and if I do, then I will definitely invest in those air pruning trays. But this is almost like a I need these today sort of thing. I want to plant today, and I did not order the Bootstrap Farmer air pruning trays yet. And also, it's a good test run. Another tray option that I'm testing out, I don't think I will like it, but I'm trying it out anyway. It's the seed starting kits that come with the peat strips. And I'm worried that I like the idea of them, but I'm just worried that these are going to disintegrate so quickly with bottom watering, and more of a worry is whether or not they'll get moldy very quickly. The other day when we were seed starting, I left the remainder of the dirt outside, and it has rained for a couple days straight. So that's what we got. Everything is drowned out, and I need to drain this. I'm going to drain it into one of the garden beds and try to fix this dirt. That in-ground soil that we used for the peppers and tomatoes last time, I decided after having about a week to look at those starts that I don't really like that dirt that I got. I definitely want something a little finer, less clumpy, less big chunks in it, but I have 2 more bags of it and this half a tub left, so I'm going to use it. I hope that it doesn't prevent the seeds from starting, but I will let you know if it works or if it doesn't. We're going to use it again today. I'm a little bit worried that it's not going to fit very well into those small narrow cells, but we'll see. If not, I don't have anything else to use right now, so we'll figure it out. Okay, so the way I see it, I have a couple options here. That dirt is so wet. Every time I try to dump it out, I'm losing a lot of dirt. So I'm not going to be able to dump out any more water without losing medium. So I have a couple options. I can add more dirt to soak up some of the water, and or I could have some of this perlite that I've used in some of my houseplants and containers that I could mix in, and it might help the compaction of the soil in the start trays. So I might do a mixture of both. I don't really want to open another bag of soil right now because I don't think I'm going to use more than what is here. So I might just try to deal with how wet it is and just add the perlite in. Hopefully that will help with drainage once I get the medium in the start trays, and it will also help with the compaction. And once the soil starts to dry out a little bit, it won't be so dense and tightly compacted for the seeds to start in. We'll see how that works. So take a look. You can see this is a lot thicker than what it was. It's looking more like a potting mix that you would buy at the store instead of just in-ground dirt. Earlier this morning, I Googled what the difference between perlite and vermiculite is. And based on the information I found, I think that vermiculite probably would have been a better option for seed starting mix, like homemade seed starting mix. But I already had this giant bag of perlite that I've been wondering what I'm going to use it for. So here we go. And it is sticking together well enough. I'm able to squeeze water out, so I think this will be okay for our seed starting mix. I don't really want to add any more perlite. So this will be experiment seed starting weekend number 2. Right, so I'm going to fill these, I guess they're like 4 trays, but 2 larger trays, with the mix that we just made. I just wanted to show you how the day's shaping up. It's getting sunnier this afternoon. So I'm going to move you and the trays over to the table. I just remembered that when I drove past the house earlier today, one of my tree cages blew away. So we're going to do a little detour here from our seed starting and go grab that cage. This is the very, very beginning of the front yard. We have some lavender. We have a Coosa dogwood from my dad's house. A couple Washington hawthorns. This one is doing great. We have a couple ornamental maples. That one's not doing so hot. I'm not sure about that one. And then we hydrangeas, a rose, an experiment rose. That's my very first rose ever. I don't think it looks very healthy right now, but we'll see what happens in the springtime. Another hydrangea. Anyway, so let's fix that. There we go. Looks like a lot of the growth that was new last year is all dying off, so I don't know if it's sick or if that's typical with this variety of ornamental maples. I'm just gonna see what happens. I mean, I think this is like the third year this has been here, and I haven't had any issues with it. Really, I mean, I had some die off, but not to this extent. I don't know if it's because of the weather or if it's some sort of disease, but I'm gonna see what blooms, if anything, come spring when the leaves come out, and then trim accordingly from there, I guess. While we are out here in the front, I'm also going to show you the little bed of bulbs that I inherited when we bought the house. Look how beautiful. We have some hyacinth coming in, all of these daffodils. I think there are more hyacinth. Yes. More hyacinth over there in the bottom corner. Anyway, back to seed starting. Walking around the side of the house here. To the back. Alright, I think we're set up now. I also have the tray, the seed starting tray of empty dirt. There's no seeds in that tray yet that I started last weekend, and I've kept moist. I think I'm going to plant the celery and the onion in that tray, and I think I'm going to keep these trays strictly flowers because I don't plant as many vegetable starts as I do flower starts. And I want to plant as many of these flower seeds as possible. So these little cells are great for that, and I want a lot more of them. I don't need as many vegetables. I'm not selling them I'm not growing for large scale production, for a large family. I don't have any experience with preservation, so a lot of what I harvest is for fresh consumption. So I'm not going to sow as many celery and onion seeds today, but I am going to sow as many of these flower seeds as will fit in these two trays. This seed starting production has been interrupted. We have a special announcement. My fruit trees have arrived. Cannot remember what I purchased. I think I got a fig, a persimmon. Oh man, I'm gonna have to look. I can't remember, but I think I got 5 trees. So I guess those are getting planted this weekend. I'm excited to open those up. We will do that. We'll do a tree unboxing as soon as we're done. Anyway, let's finish covering these up. So I have a lot of the Indian blanket flower, which is totally okay because they're gorgeous. I definitely seeded more seeds per cell for these flowers than I would for vegetables. Usually I only seed like 2 to 3 seeds per cell for vegetable trays, but I'm okay with there being more seeds per cell in the flower seed starting trays. The way I look at it is, if flowers were releasing seeds naturally in the wild on their own, they're going to be dispersing a bunch of seeds in and around the same area. So it's okay if you have a concentration of seeds, flower and ornamental seeds in a certain area. You don't really want to have a high concentration of vegetable plants in one area to get large harvests. But all of these flowers, I mean, a lot of them are some of them are medicinal, some are edible, but for the most part, I'm planting flowers because in my heart, I am first an ornamental gardener, and I'm trying to learn how to grow a lot more of my own food. I'm gonna make some more tags for the extra rows. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more rows that need assigned tags. I need to cover over the Indian blanket seeds in one more row, and then I will take these downstairs, put them under the grow lights with the peppers and tomatoes that are down there, and regroup. So the last 2 sets of seeds that I want to start this weekend are the Ishikura green onion and the Utah tall celery. I know I filled up these cells last weekend. I've kept them damp, but I like that I added the perlite to the in-ground garden soil to lighten it up a bit. So I think I'm actually going to dump these out into the soil with the perlite, mix it back up, and then refill these cells. That way they have the perlite included in the mixture. I think I'm going to make another Home Depot trip shortly also to get some more containers for the artichoke and marshmallow seeds. I want to put those in the refrigerator, and I don't want to fill, actually I don't think one of these trays will fit in the refrigerator, even if I would want to put an entire tray in there. So I want to get maybe 2 smaller seed starting trays of some sort, specifically for the artichoke and marshmallow. And then I also want to get a roll of 4-foot welded wire. That way, I think I'm gonna plant the fruit trees tomorrow because I'm probably gonna run out of daylight today to do it. But we have a lot of deer around here. When I plant those fruit trees, I'm gonna wanna put welded wire cages around them, at least until they get established, so that they aren't ruined by the wildlife. Okay, so I'm gonna plant as many ishikura green onions as will fit in this tray, and then I'm gonna plant as many seeds as I can in these Utah tall celery cells. We go through a ridiculous amount of green onion in this house, so I'm hoping that this has a great yield. All right, so I believe those are all of the seeds that I am sowing this weekend, except for the lavender, the Elegance Pink Lavender, the Marshmallow, and the Violette de Provence artichoke. But those require special treatment. So I'm gonna go get those 2 seed starting trays that I'm looking for, maybe for the marshmallow and the artichoke. That way I could put those in the fridge. And then we're going to sprout the lavender seeds on a wet paper towel. I'm not sure if that will be part of this video or it might be another video. We'll just see how much energy and daylight I have left by the time I get home. I'm going to Home Depot. I am going to pick up the welded wire for around the fruit trees. I'm super excited. I've never planted a fruit tree that I can remember, so these are my first fruit trees. Oh, I've planted lemon trees as an experiment. I know they don't grow in my zone over the winter, but I had started some lemon trees from seed from lemons that I grew in the picked up at the grocery store. And they were beautiful trees, and I just didn't have room for them inside anymore. And so I, as an experiment, planted them outside, and they made it through most of the winter. But last week, whenever I tested out I did the scratch test on the bark, they were very dead the whole way through. So they did not make it as I expected, but I thought, maybe there was a chance they would make it through the winter. So anyway, these are the first fruit trees that I will be planting, and they are kind of marking the beginning of my permaculture journey, because I have never intentionally planted anything really with the intention of creating a permaculture foodscape or like a foodscape garden, not necessarily a food forest. Maybe eventually it will be a food forest, but more like an agroforest or a food forest. I like calling it a foodscape because I like gardening ornamentally with herbs and edibles. But these fruit trees are the foundation for this foodscape, and then I'm going to plant around that some mid-sized bushes that bear edible fruit, herbs, and medicinals, and just I want to create a space where you look at any space in the yard, any part of the garden, and you're like, you can eat that, you can eat that, that's medicinal, you can make a tea out of that, that helps, if you have a cough, this helps lower blood pressure, this helps whatever ailment or illness that you might have. Plants are so powerful. They are the original medicine, and they are fuel. So I'm very excited to start intentionally creating a space based on all of these permaculture principles, and these fruit trees are the beginning of that. So very excited. I might accidentally come home with some blueberry plants that I've been eyeing up. the last 2 times I've been at the store. I'm gonna try to refrain from that because I've got a lot on my plate already as far as planting goes, and I don't want to get too ahead of myself. I keep trying to remind myself that those blueberry plants will be there, and if they're not there next time, I can always order them online. But I must stand and stare at them for a good 2 minutes every time I visit the seed starting section. Anyway, I will catch up with you once I'm back with the welded wire. Oh, actually, let's open these boxes the fruit trees came in. I might want to soak them in, this is my tree soaking bucket or pitcher. I've received a lot of trees from the Arbor Day Foundation in response to donations that I've made. They're always very small. I haven't had great success, but that's probably because I haven't always planted in the most ideal time frame. If I'm very busy with work, I can't always get to planting. Last year, my trees came in on Christmas Eve and the ground was frozen. I couldn't even plant them. So we had a lot milder of a winter, and it is ideal for tree planting. The trees will not get as stressed out planting them right now as if I were planting in the heat of summer. You don't really want to do that. That's hard on the plant. So I'm going to open up the boxes with you and then probably soak the root systems. I think these are bare root. We'll see. I can't remember. I can't even remember what all I bought. And then if any of them are bare root, we will soak them in some water, not too hot, not cold. And they can get hydrated while I go get the welded wire and some more seed starting trays. No more seeds. I'm not allowing myself to purchase any more seeds. One of these boxes is a lot heavier than the other. I'm thinking maybe more of the trees are in the one box than the other. Or maybe those trees in the heavier box came in soil. I'm not sure, but we'll find out. Okay, so this one came in a tall pot with dirt. So this is the American persimmon. This is the Yates American persimmon. And I don't think I've introduced myself with my last name yet, but my last name is Yates. And so when I saw the Yates American persimmon on the Stark Brothers website, I was like, oh, that has to go in my cart, and I have to grow that. It literally has my name, so very excited. I've never even eaten a persimmon. I don't know what they taste like. Supposedly they taste similar to an apricot, but they look like a tomato. Anyway, I'm excited to grow that. It looks pretty healthy. So there's the Yates persimmon. How quite the struggle later. All right, this one came also in a very long and tall plastic container with dirt in it. Perfect. I don't have to worry about soaking it. Oh, this is my Chicago hardy fig. I'm super excited to grow this one. I have been in search of a fig tree. Whenever I was in Mexico, I visited this one house up in the mountains on top of a hill, and this woman had this beautiful fig tree outside her house, and she offered me a fig that was, no joke, the size of my palm. Like, one fig fit in my palms, and I was able, it was so ripe and fragrant, and I was able to just kind of like softly pull it apart in two halves, and it was so pink and seedy and beautiful inside and sweet. It was delicious, and ever since then I've been in love with fresh figs, but anything that you can find in the grocery store cannot compare. And so I was like, oh, I need to grow my own figs, and I'm hoping that this may be the fruit from this Chicago hardy fig tree may be similar to what was growing in that woman's yard and garden. So we'll see. But so we got the Chicago hardy fig, the Yates persimmon. Let's see what's in the next box. You get to watch me struggle through trying to open this box again. You can't see too well. Let's go over a little bit here. All right, so apparently I also purchased a Benton Sweet Cherry, a dwarf version, and a Methley Plum in standard size. So this must be the plum and the cherry. Okay, so it looks like these are lighter because they are bare root. So while we don't need to soak the hardy fig and the persimmon, I am going to water them a little bit before I go. But I definitely do want to soak the cherry and the plum. You can see here that they came bare root with some recycled, looks like paper that's wet. I'm just going to pull that off. Here we are. This is the standard Methley Plum right here. Pretty tall already. Looks pretty. And then I believe this is the Benton Cherry, the dwarf Benton Sweet Cherry. Now, I think all of the tree varieties that I chose are self-pollinating. So technically, I don't need to have more than one tree to produce fruit, but having more than one tree of each kind will supposedly increase the crop yield and the harvest. And based on the recommendations on the Stark Brothers website, it seems like you usually want to purchase not necessarily more than one of the same variety of tree, but you want to choose different varieties to cross-pollinate with each other to produce those higher yields. Even with the self-pollinating variety, I guess the way to look at it is, even though these will produce fruit on their own, it doesn't hurt to have more than one variety to increase those yields and to aid in pollination. And this is the Benton Sweet Cherry. I just wanted to show you real quick. I kind of healed the trees in. Instead of putting them in the pitcher, I realized both root systems weren't going to fit in that pitcher since they're pretty large trees. So I put them in the mortar tray with water and the remaining soil. And I think it's going to work just until tomorrow when I can plant them. That's what we got going on for tonight. Those ones are right there. Anyway, that's it for today. So thank you for joining me.